We're heading into the holiday season, tea lights and Mariah Carey on the radio and Santa Claus is everywhere. It's about to get festive, fast, and I'm excited. Now for this time of year, I love a fragrance that is fun and happy, magical, and that most of all, sparkles, because we need festive, and festive is bright and pretty and fun, and I want that from my fragrances as well. So for the month of November, I was testing so many fragrances that I hoped would give me joyous festive vibes, and I want to share what I learned, what I found out. One of the fragrance was so amazing, so lovely, that I bought a full bottle during the Black Friday sale, but I have so many others that so hit the mark for me that I want to let y'all know, because I'm a giver, I'm a sharer, you know, and I love perfume so much. I need everybody to know about this. So let's get into it.
Baby, can you give me just a little bit more of what I've been missing? We got time.
Hi, I'm Jeanique, and I have 10 fragrances here to share with you, and I'm so excited to do so. We have niche fragrances, designer fragrances. We even have a dupe of one of the niche fragrances that's a little bit overpriced, and I was trying to find it cheaper, but you know, spoiler alert, the dupe was not duping. Anyway, we're gonna get into all of those fragrances. I wanted to figure out a way to organize this video so it wasn't just sort of haphazard me presenting one fragrance after another. So we have sugar, sweet shit, spice, spicy shit, and everything nice, everything that falls out of those two categories. And then we have the granddaddy of the group, the one that was so incredible and convinced me so hard so fast that I went out and picked up a full bottle already before I could even film this. So we're gonna get into all of that. If that sounds like your thing, you like this kind of video, you love a perfume review, don't forget to subscribe, keep coming back, and I appreciate the ones who've done so already. I love you. Now let's get into it.
Just a little bit more of what I've been missing. We got time to act distant. You don't.
So let's start off with sugar, because who doesn't love a whole bunch of sugar in their fragrances, in life in general? Let's start there. We have 3 fragrances in this category. First, we have Parfums de Marly's Oriana Iconic Marshmallow, a dupe of that fragrance from Maison Alhambra called Reyna. Oriana, Reyna, you get it. And third, there's the new release from Jean-Paul Gaultier called Divine. The bottle is fire. It is divine. We'll talk about the fragrance itself. So let's talk about these 3 and whether I think any of these are full bottle worthy, and the sort of the path they took me down, the journey I went on with these fragrances, because I was a little bit surprised. I thought I was going to be obsessed with Oriana. I thought, based on the notes, the marshmallow, the whipped cream, the very sweet raspberry, all of that citrus, that I would smell it, I would fall in love, and it would be amazing, incredible. I wouldn't be able to get enough. And instead, I loved it sometimes and I disliked it at others. And here is why. Oriana is the kind of fragrance that steps on the gas and never lets up. It keeps going and going. It is a fragrance that demands from you, requires that you be in a good mood. If you need a fragrance to mellow out eventually, to calm down on your skin after a long day, this fragrance doesn't give you the courtesy of calming down. It stays sugar sweet the whole way through, and not just sugar sweet, but complicated sugar sweet. So what is in here? It is first and foremost a marshmallow fragrance, and what you're getting is the powdered sugar on top of the marshmallow. On top of that, you have this kind of raspberry berry kind of smell that sits on the bottom that is not rancid. It's a little spoiled. It's like heading into spoiled territory by how sweet it is. There's also this candied citrusness, maybe candied grapefruit in this fragrance, that helps to sort of build out this world that is just extra. It is extra. It is a lot. It is loud. It is provocative. It is doing a bunch of shit, and I enjoy that. When you're in that kind of headspace, you're in that party mood, this fragrance matches that energy every single time. But even in the dry down, it stays on 10. It never lets up. I didn't love the Oriana dupe, Reyna from Maison Alhambra. I tested this one out multiple times, trying to get the true essence of this fragrance to see if I could really get into it, and if it was a more cost-effective way of having Oriana in my collection, if I so wanted that. Here's the thing, this fragrance is like $20-something, and so very inexpensive. And so I think if you like Oriana just for what it is, and you don't mind getting something that doesn't quite live up then this is fine, especially at that price point. I think it's possible that there's a better dupe out there. If you know of a better dupe out there, please let me know in the comment section. I would love to hear about it. But this dupe for me was very floral heavy, and I think that's the thing, that's the takeaway. There's something about Oriana with all of that marshmallowy sweetness, the sugar, the powdered sugar sweetness of that fragrance, the whipped cream, that feels at all times very gourmand to me. Even in the base and in the dry down, as we get more of a floral element that reads slightly aldehydic, feels a little bit soapy or shampooey in the dry down, and just similarly sweet. This fragrance, Reyna, really sticks to a far fresher floral expression than anything else. So even though the opening is very similar, I would say the wear of this fragrance is very different and the experience is very different. This is not just a shy stepsister to Oriana. It's not even like a shy version. It's not a grown-up version, it's not a professional version. It is a very different fragrance in the sort of experience of it. It feels like a very sweet floral fragrance that sort of gestures towards marshmallow and is really nice in that sense. But if you're looking to replicate Oriana, you're not getting it with this fragrance. But for a $20 bottle, it's nice enough. If you like a sweeter floral, it's just not the dupe that is duping for me. Not this one, not this time. So I've tested Divine from Jean Paul Gaultier a bunch of times at this point. I've been testing it since like October. It's been a minute of me testing this fragrance, and I've gone through spurts where I wasn't sure it was that special. And I think where I've landed at this point is that I really like this one. I don't know if it's full bottle worthy, but I really do enjoy it for what it is giving. It has this very wateriness to the fragrance that feels kind of summery and light and airy, and I think it's this sort of it's like a watermelon kind of smell to it, so not a lot of fragrances have. So I really do appreciate that sort of watermelon, a sweet watermelon-esque sort of scent to the fragrance. It has jasmine in the fragrance, and it's not like a green jasmine, it's more of a spa-like jasmine. Smells a little bit soapy, nothing overly so, a little bit fresh. There are other white florals in here that really aren't doing much work. There is a meringue note in here, so you know, sugar, right? And that sort of hides in the back, so you get this wateriness up front, and if you just breathe it in hard, you get that sort of sweetness coming through at the back, and that is really nice. So it's a very subtle fragrance in that the first sniff you're getting is a sort of watery watermelon, lightly fresh, lightly soapy, very work appropriate, everyday appropriate, run errands appropriate type of fragrance. And then if you focus a little bit, you get all of this like hit of sweetness coming through in the fragrance without it being overwhelming. It is sort of playing like opposite to Oriana in a lot of ways, that shows up, shows out right away and maintains. This one shows up real subtle, like you don't want to be sweet, and then sort of sneaks in a whole bunch of sweetness on you. Now, what is kind of interesting is like looking at the bottle, which is very provocative and makes a very bold statement. I thought the fragrance, the juice, would do the same thing, just like be making all kinds of bold statements too, but instead it's just kind of subtle. It's like lady in the streets, freak in the sheets. Like that is the vibe of Divine, right? Like it mostly seems really demure unless you focus a little bit, and then you're like, oh, you're doing other things, right? And so I definitely say it grew on me the more I tested it. I don't know if it's grown into like being a full bottle worthy. Out of this category, I'd say Oriana is the most full bottle worthy of all of these. I loved all the fragrances in this category. They were winners, y'all. I was so excited to get into all three of these really bougie vanillas and wanted to see if they lived up to the hype or they were overpriced and would be completely disappointing. So this is the spice category. We have three fragrances in this category. We have MFK's Grand Soir, the one that won me over the hardest. It was a little bit disgusting. 2, we have Vanille Fatale from Tom Ford, which converted me to Tom Ford, who I usually hate. And 3, we had Babycat from YSL, the very viral fragrance that I thought would be overhyped and wasn't. So let's talk about them. Let's start off with Grand Soir because that's my favorite. And y'all, this fragrance is so rich and luxe. It feels heavy on the skin, and even though I don't usually love a unisex fragrance. I wanted this all of my body ASAP. It was this not too sweet vanilla, really heavy with a lot of amber, a lot of woodiness, the three coming together, some lavender in this giving a little bit of airiness and lift to the fragrance, but it felt really expensive. It felt really self-assured. It felt like you were a, not to say a boss bitch, just a boss in life. So boss in life. There's this woman on TikTok who stays being in suits, you know, smoking Cuban cigars.
Chase a chick, never chase a bitch. Chase no bitch. Mask on, fuck it, mask.
Like, this fragrance just felt really powerful to me. Now, here's the thing. I don't need any man on this planet to wear this fragrance. I am going to be weak to anybody wearing this fragrance. I feel like you gotta be a little bit confident, a little bit brash. You gotta be a little full of yourself to feel like you can pull this off. And anybody who pulls this off, yeah, I kind of imagine like someone like Idris Elba putting on something like, so you can't be hot and wear Grand Soir at the same time. It wouldn't be fair to the rest of us. It wouldn't be fair to the rest of us because like the two, it would just be it'd be too much sex appeal in one place. This fragrance is so sexy. It is so rich. It is so confident. I love this one so much. And it has made its way into top 10 wishlist fragrances for me easy, because as much as I love smelling like a lady or not, both, yeah, this fragrance is another beast and I need her, seriously. Second, in terms of faves, was Babycat. No, that's not to say Vanille Fatale was way behind the other two, no. Let's talk about Babycat. Babycat is this spicy, sweet vanilla. No, because this fragrance is marketed very unisex, I did not expect it to be as sweet as it was. It's a kind of gourmand-leaning vanilla in this fragrance that isn't too heavy. It's a little bit airy because it has some saffron in it that makes it feel really bright and open and kind of like a cloud. It's beautiful. It smells really luxe. And then there are all of these spices and just sort of woodiness that isn't too heavy, because I say the woodiness in Grand Soir and the amber makes it feel real heavy, not clunky, but like it has a lot of body. There's something about Babycat that just feels a little bit more fun, a little bit more lighthearted. Like, it doesn't take itself too seriously. This is the fragrance you want to get cozy. You're having dinner with the family. You want it to be kind of easygoing. Babycat would be a great fragrance to wear for the holidays, a Christmas party. This fragrance just feels really sort of rich and dynamic, but fun at the same time. It wears really well. It doesn't sit too heavy on the skin. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It was not at all what I was expecting. I felt like going into the YSL try-on, I thought this fragrance would be very heady and like something like what Penhaligon's would do, which is really cerebral and like on paper very pulled together. This fragrance is just really fun and happy and beautiful, and I get why so many people love it because I love it. Finally, here's the thing. I don't usually love these Tom Ford fragrances. There's some like Lost Cherry that I really do appreciate. Soleil Blanc that I think is really beautiful. But 9 times out of 10, you give me a Tom Ford fragrance, any of the orchids, and I want to fight you because get the fuck away from me with that shit. I cannot stand them. And I usually have such a visceral reactions, usually negative to Tom Ford fragrances, that I was not optimistic about Vanille Fatale, except when I sprayed it. I was like, wow. And it is fire from the first spray to the dry down, but it develops as it goes along. It shifts, it changes right before we finish off and it disappears. It does different things, and that was the fun part. No, I would say Vanille Fatale reads to me very professional on the one hand, or a night out at a pub, drinking bourbon, having a good time with friends. It feels like a fragrance that is very outgoing and very pronounced, like somebody who doesn't take any shit, but it doesn't feel like a party fragrance. It feels like a night where you are very much in your element, sort of sitting around talking real shit with people who know real shit, and you are very confident and you want to share that with everybody. Like, this fragrance is just a beautiful one. It's unlike Babycat, that is like a much sweeter vanilla. This one is not nearly as sweet. It also has a lot more greenness and freshness to the fragrance, a lot more aromatic elements that make it really dynamic, makes it also appropriate for the daytime in a way that I think the other two don't read as daytime as this one. The dry down has a heavy dose of patchouli and oak moss that brings in a real freshness to the fragrance with all of the woodiness and the vanilla that I think balances it out and makes it feel more appropriate for everyday wear. This is a fragrance I would wear to the office very easily. I think it would really read really well in a professional setting without going over the top. I think the dry down and that freshness makes this feel really appropriate for whenever, whatever. This is such a beautiful fragrance. Even at these 3 price tags, which are not cheap, I would say all of these are full bottle worthy. All of these read really beautifully. I don't think there's anything that really compares this month as far as vanillas that I've tried, and I'm so excited about all of them. I just needed to share because y'all, these 3 are so fire, and you probably know, but if you don't know, now you do. So category 3, everything nice, has some nice shit. I'm gonna start off with Tuberoza from Miss Honey. I wouldn't say I was blown away by this. I'd been meaning to test this fragrance for a long time, just based on the name. Y'all know how I feel about Tuberoza fragrances. I love them. They're amazing. They're incredible. I love the texture of Tuberoza. I love how indolic it is. That is a bonus for me, and I was looking forward to trying this one. I'm gonna start off by saying this is a green Tuberoza. It is not a sort of traditionally creamy, heavy, full bloomed Tuberoza. Speaking of bloom, I tested Harem Green's Moon Bloom maybe last month or the month before. That is also a green Tuberoza. I would say Miss Honey's Tuberoza is a more successful Tuberoza fragrance. If you're looking to balance out the type of tuberoses you have, you're looking to introduce a greener, lighter, more summery tuberose, this might be a great option. No, it isn't totally like airy, right? We do have some body to the fragrance, that is something, but all of the white florals are in here. I mean, a lot of them are. I don't know why they call it tuberose, because it's tuberose and gardenia, there's jasmine, there's orange blossom, there are non-white florals, there's marigold, I think there is ylang-ylang. There's a lot of florals. It's a floral fragrance first that isn't too heavy. The most striking thing is at the opening, before you get to the mid of the fragrance, you have 2 types of greenness that comes at you. First is a greenness you get from like getting like a very big leaf, I don't know, like a rubber tree or something, and sort of snapping it. You smell like some greenness from the leaf like breaking. You smell a little bit of sap. You get that, and you also get this very herbal, green tea smelling, really warm, full, earthy greenness as well, like you would get from like a mate tea. I think what they have in this is Artemisia, which gives like a more bitter version of mate. It is there as well. As the fragrance develops, that sort of cut grass, almost like leaf type of greenness sort of disappears, maybe arugula, like that disappears and gives way to just that herbal tea like greenness to the fragrance that persists through the wear. So even though it has like a mild sweetness that comes in from sort of sweet orange, you're mostly getting sort of mildly sugared herbal tea with a lot of florals. There's something kind of comforting, not comfortable. You know what I imagined when I first tested this fragrance? I imagined being in like an English cottage in like a northern village somewhere. I don't know, just it felt very sort of restrained, a little old-fashioned, but not in like a disrespectful way that I'm saying that, but there's something that feels very traditional, like overly stuffed floral couches. That's how this fragrance sort of felt, and that's the image it conjured in my mind. Just the kind of English sort of kitchen with embroidered or crocheted just sort of linens on the kitchen table, drinking a cup of tea in like really fine china, just that kind of sort of vibe with flowers, like the smell of flowers coming in, sort of ushering in, and and just really being really nice and sort of lovely and comforting. That's the kind of vibe this fragrance gave me. Now, I had initially planned to blind buy this because I kept seeing it be on sale, and as far as these honey fragrances go, this doesn't sell the way things like 100 Silent Ways and Fan Your Flames sells. So I thought about picking this fragrance up, and I still think it is potentially full bottle worthy because I do have more indolic, ripe smelling tuberose fragrances, and this is a counterbalance to all of that, and I do enjoy the scent of it. I don't know when I would wear it, if I'd wear it on the days I wear my tea-like fragrances, which are like the rainy days, or if this would sort of fit into like a professional setting. I sort of think it would, that it would be a more restrained, office appropriate sort of floral fragrance that doesn't scream at anybody, and that herbal smell is so pleasant and it sort of mimics some, you know, those kind of office smells already, that I think it would be really nice. But I was happy to test this one out. I wasn't blown away, but it's on my radar. I like it. I'll continue to test it out, and I will say it's a good one. If you, like me, love a tuberose fragrance and you're open to a green tuberose, you also love tea smells, green smells, then this might work for you really, really well. I finally tested out Paradoxe Intense. It came out a few months ago. As y'all know, I have the original. I love her. It is a fantastic everyday fruity floral fragrance that plays well no matter the scenario, and I wanted to check out the Intense version because half the time the Intense versions are just better than the original, so let's not play with one another. So I wanted to test this one out, and I will say I don't think it's necessary to have both the Intense version and the original in your collection at the same time. I think they're close enough in sort of what they give, and the Intense version isn't so much better than the original that you just gotta run out and get it, but I think it is a really nice fragrance. So what did I like about this one? I think it preserves some of those sort of florally elements that I love about the fragrance from the original, but sort of pushes the envelope a little bit more by making the jasmine more pronounced, a little bit greener, a little bit sharper. It's a lot of fun. The opening with the neroli in the Intense version is so sharp, a little bit bitter, that I absolutely love that. Now, I love neroli as an opening because I do love a bitter type of opening. I find it kind of exciting and fun, but I also recognize that it's not for everybody. In the original, the bergamot really comes through in the opening, which makes for a softer citrusy feel, whereas the neroli in the Intense version is a lot sharper, it's more intense, it's a little bit bitter, it's a lot more over the top, and I will say both work. I enjoy both. I think the intensity of the neroli is really, really nice in this, paired with the jasmine. That is also very, very, very intense. I think most of the work though is a very sweet pair. It's almost a little bit I don't know, it's a little bit sweet, like in the back of your throat. Like you can always feel the sort of jamminess and sweetness and intensity. That is really nice. I think that's the best part of this. What I was missing though is they promised me moss and I didn't get any moss. I love moss. I love the green freshness of moss, the wateriness of moss. But I think that is counter to what this fragrance was trying to give. Like I don't think moss really fits here in terms of how it reads in fragrances. Like it just sort of got lost behind all of the other intense notes. They also promise bourbon vanilla, and there isn't anything really boozy about this fragrance, but the vanilla in here is really beautiful. It is really nice, but it is a very similar vanilla to the one we have in the original. So I will say it didn't push the envelope as much as I would like. I think the opening is the most sort of forward part of this fragrance, but by the time we get to the dry down, it is very similar to the original Prada Paradoxe. So I will say both of these are lovely. If you didn't have any of them at all at the moment and you love a sharper, more intense fragrance, then go for the Intense version. But if you already have Prada Paradoxe and you are eyeing over there the Intense version, maybe possibly, then I would say skip it because even though it is really nice, it is so similar to the original that having both doesn't really make sense. Now, if they had given us the booze that they had promised in that bourbon vanilla, if they had given us that fucking moss like I had hoped they would give us, then yeah, we would have something very, very different. But as it stands, it's pretty close to the original, which works because they know we love the original. So yeah, Prada Paradoxe Intense, a winning fragrance, a lovely one, especially at the price point, which is about $150 for 50 mils. I think it is absolutely worth that, especially if you get it on sale, which I got the original on sale 30% off. That I think lovely, nice. I don't need to have both in my collection. I'll enjoy the sample that I do have and keep it pushing. My favorite of all of the fragrances I tested in this category has to be Liwa from Vidian. No, I'm gonna say Vidian because my instinct is to say Vidian, but it could be Vidian, and I don't know why I think to say say it the way that I'm saying. I'm gonna say it that way anyway, because English language, weird. Anyway, this fragrance, here's the thing. I love psychedelic love from Initio, and I also love absolute aphrodisiac, and this fragrance sort of felt like it was in a similar kind of ballpark to those fragrances. Now, I've looked up the notes and it says oud and incense, rose, geranium, jasmine, other things, saffron, whatever. None of that makes sense to me. I don't know what this is, how those notes have come together in the way that they have, but I'll also say for psychedelic love, the notes also don't make sense to me. So there's something in here that is doing work in a way that like is outside of my expectations. I think with the oud and the incense, which I don't usually like in fragrances, they don't show up in the way that I expect them to. So let's talk about the fragrance as I experience it. This fragrance feels like a battering ram to me. There's something not just powerful, but like forceful about this fragrance. There is nothing subtle or light or like easygoing about this fragrance. It feels like it is pushing hard, and I think it's all of that woodiness mixed with all of those aromatic elements like saffron that make it feel incredibly powerful. Now, none of the notes scream sweet to me, but there is this sharp sweetness in this fragrance that feels like if you were to mix very sweet fruit with something like patchouli together, that gives like this sort of sharp cutting sweetness sort of outcome that sometimes happens. That's what that feels like. There's a sweetness in here that is very distinct, very pronounced, but doesn't feel very juvenile or even very feminine. It just feels present and layered and complicating in this fragrance. I think the fragrance feels very big. It feels very loud. It feels very brash, unapologetic. It is a beautiful fragrance that, yeah, I love the Liwa so much. I want to thank Roxanne's Retreat, my girl here on YouTube, who I link below, for putting me on, because I'd never heard of this fragrance until her, and she put me on, and so many fragrances in this video, she put me on to them, and I am so grateful, so thankful to her, because this fragrance, Liwa, for me is a hardcore love for me, and I'm absolutely going to pick up a full bottle once I'm through with my sample. We have one fragrance left, the granddaddy to end all of them, the fragrance that most really captivated me on first sniff, to the point where I went out and already bought a full bottle during the Black Friday sale because I deserve it. I need it. I love her so much. Can you fall in love with that fragrance? Because I feel like I did. Here's the thing. Xerjoff is tricky for me. I appreciate what Xerjoff does. I think the fragrances are, for the most part, worth the price tag because they aren't giving us anything run-of-the-mill. They're giving us something a little bit different. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. But I think their fragrances tend to be really interesting. So I tend to have 3 reactions to Xerjoff fragrances. And I'm not trying to be melodramatic or whatever, but I'm going to show you what those reactions tend to be. Think Dama Bianca or Bouquet Ideal, where I try the fragrance and at first I'm like, okay, this is a vibe, this is a vibe, this is a vibe, and then I'm like, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? Why? Okay, well, maybe it's not so bad. And then I stay undecided, and I like it sometimes and I hate it other times. My second reaction to Xerjoff fragrance is like I had with Cruz del Sur II. Oh my god. Oh my god, that is nasty. Why? It don't smell good. It don't smell good. And all the people saying it smell good, Cruz del Sur II, it don't smell good. That is nasty. Me fiesta. Just terrible. And cost like $300. Terrible. Then there are those fragrances like this one, Lyra, others, where I smell it and I think to myself, I don't need another bottle, I just need this one. It's just me and you, baby. Like, I love you or whatever. Like, yeah. Like, I start falling in love with an inanimate object. It gets weird, me and these Xerjoff fragrances. Anyway, I picked up Dolce Amalfi. It is perfect. It is perfect. It is a floral girlie's wet dream. That is not an overstatement. I'm not talking to you gourmand people. I'm not talking to you woody fragrance people. I'm not even talking to the vanilla lovers in the room right now. I'm talking to the people like me who love florals and sweet shit together, but want it to be interesting and exciting and different and dynamic. And like, they gave that to us with Dolce Amalfi, and I've never been so thrilled with our fragrance. It is so full, it's so big, it is so good, so good, it's so good. How do you even describe love? How do you even describe perfection? You can't, it's hard, but I'm gonna do my best and say there is a very real sweetness to this fragrance. You expect it with the name Dolce, right? You expect it, but it isn't this very gourmand sweetness in my opinion. It smells like an airy floral sweetness that doesn't push too hard. There's also saffron in here that makes the fragrance feel really big and full without being powdery or too airy. It just feels like a cloud around your body that is really like dynamic and playful and fun. There's some warm spices in this, things like cloves and cardamom. I could have also used a little bit of ginger, maybe some pepper, all vibed all the time. It makes the fragrance feel even more playful and fun and light, and it sort of plays off of your skin without taking you too seriously. It's lovely. There are some woods in here that make the fragrance feel really grounded without feeling too heavy or clunky or too dark. At the face of it, this is a fragrance you take on vacation, on like in Italy somewhere. You're gonna be on the beach living your best life, you're gonna be smoking hookah, I don't fucking know. This just feels like a good time out where it's sunny, it's really happy, it's really playful. It is a light enough on the skin that it doesn't feel overwhelming or overpowering. It's not too sweet, it's not too sharp, it's not too dark, but where it chooses to push with a little bit of spice and a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of this sort of aromatic floralness to the fragrance makes it feel really feminine and lovely and beautiful. And the moment I tried this, I thought I wouldn't do anything different. This is just about perfect for me, and I love this one. So I picked it up, I bought it. It is on its way to me right now, and I'm so excited about that. So yeah, Dolce Amalfi, my favorite of all the fragrances that I tried this month, and I tried some really fucking great ones, but this one was by far the best of all of them. This was a successful month for me. So many winners, so little time, so little money. It's annoying. I want all of these. I want Liwa. I want Grand Soir. I want Vanille Fatale. And I'm getting Dolce Amalfi. I'm so excited. This is a good month for me. I love when I test out a bunch of fragrances, and for the most part, they're winning. When like Tuberoza is one of the losers of the month, and it's still fucking fire. It's still amazing. It's still lovely. And on an off month, most months, it would have been near the top. I just had a very good month in the month of November, and I feel like as the Christmas season approaches, yeah, that's how it should be. I should be trying out all of the winners at this point. More winners to come in December, obviously. So yeah, thanks so much for stopping by, checking out this video with me. Which of these fragrances have you tried that you absolutely love or hate, and which do you most want to test out? I would love to hear all about it. Thanks for stopping by, checking out this video. I really appreciate you for being here today, because you could be anywhere on the internet right now, and instead you're here with me talking perfumes. I appreciate you. I think you're awesome, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.
I'm so desperate. When did I become so insecure? I hate myself so you can love me more. When did I become so desperate? Break the mirror on my bedroom door. How much longer?